This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Can't believe I've walked into Pulse 95 Radio and I've already got abuse from everyone about yesterday's final. Like, at least let me walk into the studio. Do you know what I mean? They didn't even ask me, do you want a coffee? No, they didn't. Every single person, and I know Vikas, you're listening, from the second I walked into this building, just said to me, Omar, you okay? Omar, you all right? Everything okay? You see what I have to deal with here? You see what I have to deal with when I'm hosting my own show in the best radio channel in the UAE, on the planet. Pulse 95 Radio, we're here. So we're about to bring the energy to you for the next hour. If you're wondering what's coming up on the show today, well, Euro 2020 has been a memorable tournament for many reasons, and every beat has been felt from the first game, and we call it an end to what has been an incredible era, this European Championship. Now, the champions of Europe are Italy. Italy have done it. Forza Italia, they have done it, and well deserved. They have done it, but how did they do it? And how did it go yesterday in the final? Where did it go right? Where did it go wrong? I'm going to explain that today on the show. That's not the only thing that's happening on the show today, because UFC 264 happened and Conor McGregor's comeback. I keep saying comeback. Conor McGregor's return to the UFC 264 against Dustin Poirier for the trilogy happened. But what happened, if you haven't caught that fight or the obscene scenes from what occurred in that fight, we're about to discuss that as well on the show. So we've got Euro 2020, UFC 264, Wimbledon is over, Messi wins a trophy. Like, I didn't need more to talk about today on the show, but I'm gonna need all of you to get with me on the hour, and that's on my Instagram Live, Pulse 95 Radio YouTube channel. Anywhere you're listening, stay tuned for the next hour on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Aduri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Aduri. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international and local. Right, let's get stuck into it straight away. Now, the Euro 2020 has come to an end, unfortunately, but what a tournament it's been as well, especially the latter stages. A lot of people, predicted that, we would get a fan favorite at the end, or, one of the top seeds, and Italy definitely did not disappoint. And here's the thing, guys. This is what, for me, there's a lot of things when it comes down to sport that I relate to life. But my only problem is when life actually doesn't relate to sport. That's kind of something that gets me a little bit. And yesterday, the scenes afterwards, were the headlines and the racism and the comments that were made about the players, the African players, or at least the mixed players that, missed the penalties and things like that. There's no space in sport for racism, and no way should that be allowed. And I hope those people that have done that get punished, because you're looking at the game itself, and it really did set itself up nicely. Both teams very pragmatic in their approach in terms of being defensively very, very sound. Mancini versus Southgate, and some people were criticizing Southgate, from the beginning of the tournament for doing certain things, but he managed to get them together. And more than anything, guys, and let's put the jokes aside and the banter, because I walked in here and everyone was bantering me the second I walked in. What Southgate has managed to do is unite a nation. And I know that sounds obvious, but it's not actually that obvious, because for many years, the clubs have come first. The loyalty to the clubs. Players weren't getting along. There wasn't this camaraderie. To have a setup like what Southgate has done for England and make the players feel at home, where they're all together, it's a squad game, there's no bitterness between them. That was really, really special and very, very unique. So coming into this final, and everyone was talking about, England have never been in a final, so that already was an achievement itself. The Italians, on the other hand, with what Mancini has managed to do, and the blend of experience at the back with the youthfulness of the players who really, really came to the scene, especially players like Chiesa. Obviously, Donnarumma is very experienced for such a young goalkeeper, but then him really establishing himself before he moves to PSG. There's a lot of factors here in this. But what made it really, really good as a spectacle was the fact it was a very, very even game. Some people might say, no, Italy were dominant. Well, when England took the lead early on, that was probably against a lot of people's expectations. People thought Italy were going to probably dominate and score and then sit back. The fact that England scored so early, that was something that really set up the game nice, because Italy had to come out and play. And in them coming out to play, there were, gaps and spaces to be exposed. Now, whether that was exposed or not, that was probably not, something evident at the end. But the first half, England were outstanding. Honestly, players like Declan Rice, Luke Shaw, Phillips was excellent. Sterling, obviously a handful. Kane causing a problem, even though, in my opinion, Kane is better up further in the pitch. But the fact that he would drop into the middle would cause a problem for the defenders to come with him, which created the space. And then even people saying that why did Southgate change his formation to face Italy? Why is he more defensive? Well, the reason being is because he saw how it worked against the Germans. He saw how Spain played against Italy. And the way that Spain played against Italy was dominating the midfield by overrunning them until they had to substitute 2 out of their 3 midfielders later on. So Southgate saw that, saw the team he's playing up against, knew that they had incredible talent all over, and had to do something about it. And that was evident because even though he was criticised coming into this final, the people that were involved was Trippier to cross and Luke Shaw to finish. And Trippier was the person brought in and Saka was actually left out. So you see, we can criticise and it's very, by the way, this is another thing. And I've experienced this as a coach as well. It's very easy when things don't go right for people to say, you should have done this and you should have done that and you should have played him. But the truth of the matter is he trusted his players and he trusted his squad and he knew it was going to be a long game. And so in doing so, Trippier, the person who he brought in for the final, who he trusts, crossed the ball for Luke Shaw to finish against the outstanding player of the tournament, Donnarumma. So in the first half, coming in, looking at the way the game was played out, England were in a very good position. Now, the argument here is, should he have reacted earlier? Should he have done something where it would have had a plan B or a plan C? And even sitting and watching the game myself, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, you know what? Some of his players need to step up or he needs to change them. And when you look at the team and you look at the creativity, especially sitting on the bench, that was my only concern with the players that are occupying those positions in the starting lineup. And those players would be people like Mason Mount, for example, Harry Kane. These are players that you rely on club level. The difference with international level, especially when it comes down to semi-finals and finals, are very marginal, very, very small things. But when you look at players like Jack Grealish, I know Foden was injured yesterday, look at Jadon Sancho, look at Saka, those are players that are creative, they're bold, they're willing to take a chance. And I just felt, as much as Mason Mount does so much work off the ball, and fantastic work, by the way, off the ball, he's one of those players that every manager has in his team. And despite doing that, I needed more, and I needed more after 60 minutes, and I knew that was going to be the case. And if Italy scored, it was going to be very, very difficult for England. And I just thought to myself, if Southgate does something now, then he will be able to almost keep Italy on the back foot, because players like Chiesa were outstanding. And the fact that here's the tactical move that Mancini switched Chiesa from flank to flank, that caused a problem which pinned down between Kyle Walker and Kieran Trippier to be able to do more in that action. And so that's why Mancini's move with Chiesa, who got substituted, and as soon as he did, because of an injury, you kind of thought, hey, listen, this could actually go England's way. But the Italians, the experience, Bonucci, Chiellini, even the game management, and this is another thing that a lot of people, it's very, like I said, it's very easy in hindsight to be able to say he should have and he'd done this. But the game management was fantastic. And even when it was unfair, the dark arts of football shows through the skill that is, by the way. When you stop a game, when you commit a foul, when you break up a play, the patterns of play on the pitch is something that managers and players and coaches discuss all the time. And when you looked at how there was 21 fouls from Italy and there was 13 fouls from England, and there was 5 yellow cards from Italy, and it was 1 yellow card from England. Now, I'm not saying that's why Italy deserved to win this tournament. Now, the game, and people forget this, ended on a draw before penalties. So tactically, both managers were very, very good. And that's where I kind of say, as much as people might say, oh, but there was possession, Italy had more possession. And yes, in the second half, Italy were much better than England. But as soon as it went into extra time and those players were introduced, now it started to become a game. And you just felt that it's going to be experience versus a team that is learning a lot about itself. And that's why I heard a lot of people come on and say, and I listened to all different radio channels, by the way, even in the UK, and I heard people say, oh, well, Southgate was wrong and he should have done this. Well, Southgate didn't actually lose the game. Southgate lost on penalties, which, by the way, when you look at it in hindsight, and I did say Italy deserved to win based on the tournament, they were excellent. But when you look at the actual game, when Spain played Italy, Spain outplayed Italy, but Italy got through, and that comes down to game management. It comes down to the experience of Chiellini and Bonucci, who are a very rare breed of defenders who love to defend, who celebrate when they defend. When they make a clearance, it's like they scored a goal. Now, having the experience of those two with the new wave of talent in Italy, in Donnarumma, in a goalkeeper who already has so much experience for a young boy, then you start to see Spinazzola, who got injured, and he came in. Emerson did a good job. Lorenzo on the right, again, good job. Verratti's experience, fantastic. Jorginho. It's not, players like Verratti and Jorginho are extraordinary for a reason. Not necessarily the assists that they make, but how they keep the ball and how they distribute the ball at the right time. Their football IQ is superior to many players in those positions. And a lot of the time, we get carried away with stats and we say, why? Why isn't that player scoring enough or assisting enough? What this does for this game, and this beautiful game, is it shows you there are many ways to win football matches. But more importantly, what it has done, it's united a nation to be able to enjoy a game of football. And that's why congratulations to Italy for winning the tournament. Congratulations to England for reaching the final. How they move on from here and how they learn and progress is going to be the game changer when it comes down to Gareth Southgate's men. Is he the right man for it? Absolutely. Because they learned from mistakes they made in the past. They've reached the semi-final and now they've reached the final. The World Cup is in 18 months. This could actually be the best thing for them because it teaches them a lot about themselves. I felt really sorry for Bukayo Saka yesterday. I thought he was outstanding. A 19-year-old who perhaps in many people's eyes shouldn't have played this tournament, shouldn't have started, but Southgate trusted him and he repaid the faith. The other players that missed the penalties, as anyone knows, penalties are a lottery. So at the end of the day, you have to congratulate them. What happened after that in the media and in the racism, abuse and all that has no space for football. So let's enjoy the tournament. Let's appreciate things and be grateful for a lot of things that happen. Christian Eriksen's life, for one. The fans from all around the world enjoying sport, two. And at the end of the day, congratulations, Italy, on their tournament. Fantastic, fantastic tournament. Very, very well done. Very, very happy to see that football won yesterday. And despite the game going to penalties and being such a long game, at the end of the day, we appreciate that. And that is the Euro 2020 final segment over and done. I'm going to take a quick break and we'll be right back after this. Enjoy, folks.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Adori. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international, local. Thank you, Mikey, for joining the room on Instagram Live at Omar Adori. Appreciate that. And thank you for pulling out the tissue box as well and giving me a bit of stick for England losing. Okay, UFC 264 kicked off. Man, everyone was really anticipating Conor McGregor's return and Dustin Poirier. And this one looked really, really personal. You know, coming into this fight, everyone was talking about which Conor is it going to be? Is it going to be the good Conor? Is it going to be the aggressive Conor? Which one is it going to be? And having looked at the mind games behind it when they fought for the second fight, because the first fight Conor won and the second fight Dustin Poirier won. When they fought for the second fight, Dustin Poirier said, You know, it was easy for me because Conor McGregor wasn't the same, in-your-face Conor McGregor. So this time he switched it up. He got very, very riled up for it. He got very, very aggressive. He got in his face. If you watch the embedded in the episodes coming into it, that was, something that, we were looking forward to. And then this fight happens and we're thinking, right, okay, this is finally going to happen now, because we know that Dustin Poirier had a chance to fight Oliveira for a title fight, but actually turned that down to fight Conor McGregor for the trilogy. We looked at that and we thought, okay, he's got to look after his family. It's a money fight. It makes sense. Unfortunately, what happened, if those haven't seen it, you should go check it out, is Conor McGregor broke his leg in, what people will say was a freak accident. I think when he actually threw many kicks in the first round, and when he threw one of his kicks and Dustin Poirier checked it, I think that's probably when the beginning of the break started to happen, because once the body's warm and the adrenaline's happening, you don't really feel much. But then Conor threw a punch, and then actually putting weight on that foot, it snapped, and it was one of the weirdest things. It was really awful to watch. I mean, anyone that suffers a leg break or any kind of break, normally when it comes to sports or life, you kind of cringe straight away. And memories of Anderson Silva and Weidman, just came to mind, especially recently with Uriah Hall being involved with that. It's not something you want to watch in sport, but all of a sudden, the look on Conor McGregor's face was horrifying. You knew something wasn't right. And as soon as that happened, the camera looked down at his leg and it was literally hanging off, which was awful. But what does this mean for Conor McGregor? So on paper, he loses the trilogy. And although people will say that the fight was on points for Dustin Poirier, because Conor McGregor made a mistake in shooting for a takedown, and in doing so, you go against a black belt in Dustin Poirier. That's home for him. Whilst if he kept it, on his feet and focused on striking, it would be a whole different fight. But people forget, Dustin Poirier, 28-6, Conor McGregor, 22-6. This lightweight division, is not light, and it's not something that people, can take, easily, and those two really, really showed it. But now the psychology of that leg break, how difficult is it to come back from such an injury? The news is that Conor McGregor has already had surgery, and they've said that in 6 weeks, it will take 6 weeks of him being on crutches and really letting it heal before he can put any weight on it again. And with these things, and having experienced this recently myself, it's such a fight, and it's such a mental battle when it comes down to getting injuries that actually prevent you from moving. And I say that because movement is medicine. We take it for granted until we no longer have that mobility, the idea to be able to turn and twist and stand up and put a t-shirt on. These simple things, really, really, you don't think about them until you're actually in them. And Conor McGregor suffering this leg break is awful, because as a human, the first thing that happens at that point is you start to think, what am I going to do? How am I going to stay occupied? How am I going to keep my brain ticking or my brain working? There's all these factors that you wonder, am I ever going to be the same again? Am I ever going to be able to, lift, or push, pull, get up, stand up? There's many factors that come into mind. And with this Conor McGregor loss, you just question. A lot of people are saying it's over for him in the career of mixed martial arts, especially that, he doesn't need to fight. And this is why people sometimes are questioning, why is he still in sport? Why is, his endorsements and all his products and everything, they made him a multi-millionaire. So why is he still putting his body at risk and doing these things? And I actually think that, Conor McGregor, and maybe his ego might be the toughest thing, but Conor McGregor will come back. And I'll say it here on the Halftime Show. I genuinely feel he's going to make a comeback. He's going to use this as motivation to fight Dustin Poirier again. And when we least expect it, the fight is going to be announced. Now, Dustin Poirier fights Charles Oliveira next, and that's exciting. But that means you're looking at least a year until Conor McGregor can make him retire. And if he does, all the muscle memory, all the ring rust, being able to, will he take a fight before that? There's all these factors that you have to consider, and a fighter's mind is very, very different when it comes to these things. These things, take a lot for you to actually use that kind of energy, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So, will Conor McGregor come back? Let me know, 4215 Salat or do. And also, by the way, I have to say, I know we're talking 264. Gilbert Burns does it again against Wonderboy Stephen Thompson. Tai Tuivasa. Oh my God. I don't know whether to celebrate or throw up after his celebrations against Greg Hardy. Knockout, first round, 1 minute 7. That was crazy. And then the women's bantamweight, Irene Aldana for, I can't even say this name, but Yana Kunitskaya in a knockout as well in the round 1, 4 minutes, 35 seconds. Right, okay, we'll take a quick break. Here's some Oasis Sam Smith, and I'll see you after this. See you in a bit, folks.
This is the halftime show with Umar and Duri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the halftime show with Omar Duri. If you're just tuning in and kicking yourself for missing the first part of the show, don't worry, you can catch all of our episodes on podcast if that's what you like. You can go to Apple, Spotify, or SoundCloud, or if you prefer a visual, head over to our YouTube channel, Pulse 95 Radio, and on that, you'll be able to actually see a lot of our episodes with all of our guests and some really, really cool topics as well. Okay, so we've spoken about the Euro 2020. As you know, I came into the studio today. Actually, before I came into the building and I was getting abuse about England losing to Italy in the Euro 2020 final. We also spoke about the UFC 264. Conor McGregor against Dustin Poirier is making headlines everywhere following Dustin Poirier's victory, albeit for Conor McGregor's leg break. Now, a lot of things in that, that is very worrying for Conor McGregor and where his career will go. Right, that's not the only superstar who's celebrating at the moment now. Lionel Messi wins his first trophy for Argentina. Like, how nuts is that to think about all the things he's won and to think that, man, he's never done it with Argentina. And yes, the comparisons have always been there with him and Diego Maradona, but I think, what does this mean for Messi? And a lot of the Barca fans and the Messi fans, they were first ones to celebrate, first ones to be proud, and they should be. The only question mark when it comes down to Messi and Argentina is, how has he not managed to elevate his team like he has done with Barcelona? With all the great players that he has around him. And some people might say, what great players? But I think team players, you think of the quality they've had in attacking positions. You think of, obviously, now having Martinez in goal. That's a big factor. And winning, the best goalkeeper of the tournament. That's huge. But I think even watching them, if anyone watched Barcelona, if anyone watched the Argentina-Brazil match the other day, it was at 4 a.m. here in the UAE. But it was, it was just very violent. Very, very violent. 41 fouls committed in a match that, had so much, for the referee to manage and to handle. And these players and these people really in his ear all the time, and people rolling over and falling. And I think there was very few bits of quality in the actual patterns of play that you could see. And looking at the lineups were actually very, very good. So you saw a lot of good things come out of there. And that was very, very tricky for Brazil. But Di Maria scored a great goal. I think, again, you look at the players that they have and you wonder why they haven't done it sooner. But it was, when you think about it, Argentina won 1-0 and they only had 6 shots in total in a game of 90 minutes with some of the best players in the world. Brazil did have home advantage, but couldn't actually convert that with 60% possession, 13 shots. They really tried to give it. They really tried to go for it. Richarlison was very unlucky not to score. But again, you look at international football, you look at all these people and you wonder, wow, what's going on? Why hasn't Messi done it? But what's next for Messi? And what does this trophy mean? We've seen Messi retire before and come back. Will the World Cup be his last dance? I think that's kind of the question that everyone is is looking at the moment now. Hatem has just joined us on the Instagram Live. Omar, got lots to say about the England performance and aftermath for final loss. What's your thoughts topic? Hatem, where you been, man? I know Hatem is not in the country. It's probably working on the World Cup as we speak. But what I will say, Hatem, is head over to the YouTube channel later. Super Mario and Gabby will put the episode on, and I have a long segment on the Euro 2020 of what's happened on there. Right, okay, we're going to take a quick break. We got some Burna Boy. The music's on point today. Shout out to RR as well, who's in the building. And then we have our final segment, and Masoud, I will be answering your questions, and Hatem after the break. Enjoy.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show. It's almost full time on the Halftime Show. We're taking your questions in now as we speak. A lot of people drop in their questions on yesterday, and some people actually ask me questions about the Euro 2020, which understandably, obviously, they just joined, so they missed the first segment. If you have missed it, you can always head over to the YouTube channel and check it out. Right, let's take your questions on here. Okay, let's have a look. Masoud, how do you visualize yourself, brother? And what's one thing you still chase for and why? That's a very good question, Masoud. So I think in terms of visualization, it's really important. I think we're all human. We all kind of have, our own way of interpreting things. And obviously, the more experience we get, the more we understand how to handle and manage situations. I think that's a very, very good question. And the thing with that is, again, we're very, we're always good at giving advice. I think all of us are excellent at giving advice, but following our own advice is probably one of the hardest things. And I'm one of those people as well. Even though I'm a coach, obviously I fall under that belt, and I do strive to be better. I think every day there's something that keeps me going to try and be a better version of myself. And I think the reason why is because it gives more to those that matter, the people around me, family, friends, these kind of things. And also being a coach as well, you're always thinking, you're always trying to find the right balance, the right formula to kind of execute things. So I think I wouldn't necessarily say I'm chasing it, but it's something that you want to do, because there's always so much more you can do, and it's only when you get too comfortable do you not you don't develop. So I think that's just, hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, that's something I'm definitely striving to improve and work on. What did you think of the formations yesterday? Look, to be honest, I genuinely think that coming into this tournament, there's not many people that would have, given Southgate a hope and probably thought that he doesn't know what he's doing. But I have to say, the way he's conducted himself, the way he's managed things, you also got to realize that a few of his players have had issues and situations which he's had to deal with, which maybe in the past would have been magnified. Bringing in the media, very, very good move. A club-like mentality where players are genuinely embracing themselves and they genuinely care about each other. I've heard things like Conor Cody has been the best player in the England squad and he hasn't played. Having real leaders there, having Mason Greenwood and Phil Foden, had a problem during lockdown. He dropped them, kept them out, taught them a lesson, brought them back in, gave them a chance. It's all about giving people chances, allowing them to develop and learn. And I think he's a very good teacher. Is he the best person for the job? I think that's still out there to be seen. But saying that, now more than ever, coaches are learning to treat the humans a certain way, which brings out the best in them. And whilst before it was an old school approach, it was quite authoritarian, I think the humanitarian approach on coaching now, it definitely has a lot to give. And I think that's what Southgate's proved in this. He can learn a lot from yesterday, and he can learn a lot from Mancini, who's been there and done that. And that's why I think, it's very, very key to kind of have the right people around. Right, we are approaching full time, man, on the Halftime Show. I've had so much fun with you guys. I mean, apart from getting abused when I came in to Pulse 95 Radio by my friends and colleagues here, it's great to be able to see you guys, be able to speak to you guys, and also connect with you guys. Remember, you can catch the show every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, 3 to 4. Or if you do miss it, like some of you have done, unfortunately, and asked me, what's the topics about? What do you think of the Euros? Catch it on YouTube. I'll see you guys. Peace and love, and I'll see you back again on Wednesday.
If you liked this episode of The Halftime Show, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.